Hello everyone, greetings, happy Thursday and high vibrations. Welcome back to my channel. I am Meaningful Intuitive Guided Tarot here, coming back for another video. As you can tell by the title, this story will be about none other than Mr. P. Diddy. What a twist, because in shifting gears, I have, when I came aboard, I dropped a video pertaining to that of the royals, and have been, because that was the trendiness, or that was the hot topic. Now, like I said, now you can say maybe the royals are kind of glad that what has been happening with Diddy in some way has turned their attention from what's going on there onto what's been going on with him. But nonetheless, as you can see, that this will be a video pertaining to P. Diddy. And of course, for those that may know or may not know, which most everybody know, what has been going on, okay? Since last year of 2023, things have been coming out, the allegations, more allegations. It is becoming very, very serious pertaining to P. Diddy. And so I have come back to kind of put my take on it, as it was something, I will say right off the bat, it was something I wanted to speak upon and to perform a reading on him months ago when things started coming out, particularly when Cassie came out with the allegations. And I kind of wanted to then at that point to do a reading, but I was advised by a family member to not do so at that time. And I was sort of uncomfortable to do a reading on him because that energy was very heavy. Very, very dark and heavy. And if in fact I am uncomfortable to do a reading on anybody, I will not. I will just kind of just leave it alone until such time come that maybe things have changed pertaining to that particular person that I will want to do the reading for. And like I said, that I am comfortable to do so. So you can say that I am comfortable to do so at this time. All right. So with that being said, let us get right into what and how, what I think about what's all going on and what is the next step for him. Now, before we get right into it, I just want to say briefly that I know that some of you like those channels that get right into it, and I don't blame you, but there are others that perhaps do appreciate when channels may not, because maybe there are other factors. For me as a reader, intuitively, and just how I am, I like to bring my stories, my resources, other than my intuition. When I am gathering information, I really take my time to really bring and produce quality material or content to my video, which means then that when I do bring in the extra factors before getting right into the chunk of the story, I feel it's purposeful. It's not by accident, or I'm not doing it just because. It's because I feel at that point it's going to connect the dots. And here, when I mention in a few minutes, when I'm going to mention about the sign, showing Diddy's natal chart, it's going to make sense because it's going to give you the vibe of what he is, and it's going to make sense. So everything that I do in pertaining to what I incorporate when putting together a reading, it's beneficial, or in some way I'm going to feel that it's going to help to bring the story, bring everything. It's going to connect the dots. So again, if you do not want, me to, if you're not going to be interested in that, then this may not be the channel for you when speaking about this particular reading pertaining to Diddy. So in a moment, I will get into it and what I feel, but I do, like I said, want to bring in certain things, and I want to just express my feeling for it. All right. So it is up to you. So with that being said, I want to say first off that there's a huge disappointment when it comes to P. Diddy. All right. Because when we think about how far our people have come, quote unquote black, I don't like to use black, but just for purposes of when it comes to our people, when we see particularly the men, right? Because the men, our brothers, they haven't had it easy, right? None of us. But when it comes to our brothers, they haven't had it easy. There was a period of time where we wasn't allowed to be seen, let alone heard. Now, what does that mean? That means fast forwarding to today, when you see people, when you see our brothers like that of Diddy Combs, others, and that have made it, that have rose to fame, right? And have made a name for themselves in terms of their businesses, becoming entrepreneurs. That was something that really didn't quite become paramount until the late 90s and so forth, right? So it's like a big deal. And, you know, even though what is going on, and it has, like I said, made me very disappointed pertaining to Diddy, because when you think about his childhood, and most times rappers, when you hear their story and their upbringing, you kind of see that they took their, once they realized their skill, their talent, to become who they have come, just like Diddy, right? Bringing his family out of the ghetto, bringing his family out of the poor neighborhoods to where he had, you know, climbed to. Then you have to look at yourself and say, man, what went wrong? Why? You know, and this is why I'm very disappointed in him, because, like I said, I know that when I look at him, he had potential to utilize his fame and his power for the betterment, for the good, to be inspiring, to be motivational. And after what has transpired, it's like a failure. So all that he did to climb to where he at, and even though, yes, there was a part of it where in his climb or his ascension to where he's at, yes, there were some deeds that was involved. But when you again look back on where he have come, right, and how he grew up, just like others that you hear, when you hear their story, that they have lived in poor neighborhoods, they were poor, they were broke, their families. And so again, when they find a way to remove their family out of those situations, then you have to say to yourself, well, I've done that, I've been there, I don't want to go back to that, and I'm going to try to do good, right? Unfortunately, with Diddy, it didn't turn out that way. So, with all that being said, I am now going to talk about the vibes that is often associated with that of the Scorpio man. Diddy is a Scorpio. He's a water sign, all right? And speaking of which, when looking and really kind of digging into his birth chart, even though it's kind of tricky because we don't know the exact birth chart, but when he goes into looking into his natal chart, he has his sun that is in Scorpio. His moon is Virgo. Wasn't too clear about what his rising or ascendant sign is, but let's just say that he does have, I did see Libra that was present in his chart as well, and he has a whole lot of things going on. Now, when bringing in the planets, he has Neptune. Now, Neptune is, but also the houses. When we look at the houses, now I am still learning about astrology, so I have a whole lot to learn, but I am learning it. And as I learn, I want to begin to incorporate them into my readings. So when we think about the first house represents the house of self. And the sun represents the ego. The house of self also collaborates with Neptune. Neptune is described as a planet of star power, dreams, fame, illusion, and can bring on air of delusion or mystify a person. So that really touches upon what I just mentioned. It touches upon the status, him of star power. And as we can see, that definitely fits the bill when it comes to that description about his placements. All right. So continuing from that, that's just a quick snippet of giving you what it is that pertains to that, the traits of a Scorpio man. But let's go in even deeper pertaining to the personality character traits of a Scorpio man. And like I said earlier, it's going to make sense as we go on with the reading as to how all of this really capitalizes upon his behavior and his attitude. His ego is very strong. He's all about his ego and pride. It's very dominant when it comes to his behavior. Now, the Scorpio man trait is often said that a Scorpio can be obsessive, check, he is, possessive, check, he is, and vindictive, check. Also having to deal with unusual emotional depth. As I said, he's a water sign. They're all about emotions, right? Even though they may not display it and show it, but it's there, it's within. Leading to his extreme sensitivity, his need to close his heart in order not to get hurt. And that comes in different veritable situations. They are secretive, jealous, dominance, powerful presence, and demonstrating, or I should say demanding personalities, controlling, stubborn because he's a fixed sign. Scorpio is a fixed sign, so they are stubborn, vengeful, competitive. Now, when you want to go more into the darker side of a Scorpio man, obsession trait of ownership. Ownership. And it can turn even into violence, abusiveness, and at times destructive for their own good. Now, of course, like with any other sign, there are also positive traits. But I wanted to speak and bring more emphasis to that this time, to the darker aspects of his sign being Scorpio, because of what has transpired. All that has transpired behind him, it is that linked to the darker aspects. And so in me bringing and emphasizing those traits, it is negative, but it's also the darker aspects of that of a Scorpio man. And so with that being said, by bringing that enlightenment to it, it's because of the world of illusion that he has been living in. Him being a bad boy. But this time, literally a bad boy. Not just by the label name itself of his record company, but that of his own behavior. His own actions has literally been that of a bad boy. But more of a evil that has got into him, right? So, you can say that 2024 is his year of retribution and justice. 2023 was just only gathering up. It was only building up to the prelude for illuminating all the things that has been concealed in his world of illusion. And why do I say it that way? Because he thought he was, in fact, untouchable. He thought, in fact, that all that he had done in the dark would not ever be exposed or come out to the light. Well, not only for Diddy, but anyone else who has been, in fact, been holding on, been dibbling into anything dark. This year is the year of karma. This is the year of things that have been concealed. It will be illuminated. We already know that saying. What you do in the dark will come out. And so this is the year of illumination on so many levels when it comes to, unfortunately, the music industry. All right? So, one down. So, the question now, moving forward, is when we think about the tell-all documentary series that I believe 50 Cent is about to do, or anything else, the title phrase that comes with that is Surviving P. Diddy. However, though, my question would be kind of reversing that to surviving himself. Will he, can he handle what's going on, seeing his empire falling down, and I must say it has fallen down permanently. There is no recovery. There is no reviving of this. His empire is gone. His image has been heavenly tainted 10 times. Will this ultimately lead to him wanting to possibly deleting himself due to the fact he can't handle what the aftermath will be due to his evil deeds, his practices? Will that be a chance that he might become suicidal? All right? So, with that being said, let us speak upon what it is then I feel intuitively moving forward. What would things be like for him when it comes to him becoming indicted, charged for allegedly the SA accusations, okay? Because they are still, even if they have evidence, a portion of it, it's still alleged until it comes out to be factual. So for purposes thereof, I will say alleged, okay? I feel he will go to prison and serve his sentence. However, I feel at the same time that whatever that amount of sentence is, whether it be 10 years, 11 years, 20 years, 30, or a lifetime sentence. It might be a lifetime sentence. And that's stretching it. But whatever it is that the sentence will be, I do not feel he will last through his sentences. I feel he will be, as I said, allegedly suicidal, and perhaps at some point, once he is in prison, I feel we were here that P. Diddy is on suicide watch. All right? I feel that it's possible that at some point, once he's charged and is sent to prison, that at some point they will say that he is on suicide watch. Okay? Diddy, why do I feel that way? Why do I feel he will not survive in prison and that he can't handle? Now, I'm going to be blunt here because we are all adults, and I just only need you guys to connect the dots and read between the lines when I come down to certain aspects of what I'm about to say. Now, Diddy is not a manly man, all right? He may look like a man on the exterior, the outside, but in the interior, the inside, such a man doesn't exist. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. Is because there's a softness inside Diddy. Again, pointing back to his sign of being a Scorpio, being emotional, there are points that Diddy, particularly him, because we're talking about his status. If we look at a regular Scorpion man, it might be a little bit different. But Diddy is in a class by himself because of that status, that image of how he ascended and what bona fide him as such a star power. And so with that, it will make sense that I feel he can't be seen as a manly man. Now let's talk about 50 Cent. That's a manly man. Inside, outside. Outside, inside. 50 Cent would be, to me, I look at as a manly man because he has a tough interior. Okay? There's a masculine sense of 50 Cent if he was ever sent to prison. There's a sense that he would be a survivor. He would be, that expression goes, survival of the fittest. He would be okay. He would probably even come out 10 times bigger than what he is. But it's the mentality, it's just the sense of having that tough interior as well that goes along with the exterior, right? That makes that man masculine, and how he can endure and overcome even when things go south and there's nothing else he can do and it becomes out of his control. He's able to adapt to that environment. And I feel that 50 would be that man that will be able to adjust, to adapt until such time come. Diddy, on the other hand, I feel he would not be able to adjust and adapt to it. So I hope you follow me there. Now, as I said, he wouldn't last being in prison, Diddy. I feel he would deteriorate quickly. He wouldn't eat, so there would be a loss of appetite. And by the way, for those that may have seen, the day that his homes were raided, now there was a picture of him, a clip of him, where he was actually outside, as they said, around Miami private airport. He was out. He was on his phone, but there was a clip that I saw him crying. You know, they showed, like, if you zoom in, one of the outlets showed a clip of him like crying. All right, so that was one thing. But also in that clip, when you look at him physically, weight-wise, you can say he looked healthy. It was a healthy weight. That's my main focus here, the weight. Now, he goes to prison. That would be the last time that you would see Diddy having such, or walking around with such a heavy weight, okay? Because, again, with him going through what has happened, that was just a prelude of what's to come. If he couldn't handle, or he's beginning to have a breakdown with just what has happened, that's just the surface of things. This is just a prelude of what's to come. All right? And so with that being said, for him to be behind bars will look like him dealing with heavy mental stress, anxiety. He will physically begin to deteriorate, lose weight, because there will be no appetite. He will not want to eat. And we do know when your mind begins to become affected, right? Then eventually your health at some point will become affected due to over anxiety, due to stress, right? It can affect you, and it can potentially lead to dis-ease, okay? Not coping. Why? Because now his bad boy star power image is ruined. His ego and pride has been crushed. In fact, he is now in a position of being powerless, and him being under submission now. So it's like now the tables have turned, the roles have flipped around. How so? Again, I will say, as adults, particularly with what I'm about to say, as adults here, I'm going to be blunt. When he engaged in those sexual freak-offs, right, he was, in fact, in a position of power, leadership, which all both equates to what? The big C word, control. Now in prison, he will be, and before I say that, control, and you can say then he was the provider. This is important for me. So again, he was in position of power, leadership, which equals control, and so thereby, when it comes to those freak-offs, he was, you can say, the provider. He was the giver. Read between the lines, the giver. Now, in prison, how the roles will be flipped around, which means that he will be now the receiver. Read between the lines, which will make him feel less in control, and it would really for him, it will be a less pleasurable experience, to say the least, because he was always in the driver's seat. He was always the one that was the provider. He was the giver. He was in a very controlling type of energy that he felt he was the this emperor type of image, right? And that he had subordinates under him. Now it's going to be the other way around. We know the stories. We know what goes on behind those prison bars. My masculines, or whatever masculine that is listening to me, you exactly would know what I'm talking about. You would know. Read between the lines. Now he's again going to be demoted into a position of having to be the receiver, right? And for him, that position is not in his DNA. It's not in Diddy's DNA. It will tarnish his ego tremendously. He will not survive. His scorpionic nature, that of his emotions, will eat him up alive. It will eat him up. He will experience other inmates. In addition to that, he will experience other inmates poking fun at him, giving him the treatment that he wouldn't be able to handle. It would be too much for him. He would be like a child in a fetal position. And we know how and what a fetal position looks like. That would be him behind prison bars in that position. So you're coming from a position of power and leadership, now being demoted down to becoming nothing. That is a big drop down. That role doesn't fit for him. That will mentally mess him up. All right? So, his mind will go first, because in prison, when you are in prison, it does take a huge toll on the mental health of inmates. And for those that have been there and have survived and came out and they tell their story, they have said it messes with your mind. But this is where I was speaking upon moments ago about needing to have that interior. You got to have that interior strength to be able to mentally deal. And then, your mindset got to be readjusted. And some men can do it and some cannot. And Diddy is one that will not be able to do it. He will not. All right? So, when that mind goes, this is where I feel there's a chance he could attempt to delete himself. Now, at first, I feel it won't be successful. It will be an attempt. Now, will he try to do it again? Possibly. And once they see what he was trying to do, I even feel possibly that, because it's like where they don't want him to do that. That's like the easy way out, right? Most people, when they delete themselves, that's just the easy way out from them facing their time. You did the crime, right? Now you got to pay the time. And so them deleting themselves, that's the easy way out. And for those that have been successful, they were cowards. They can't stand up and say, listen, hey, karma is here. I did it. Now I got to pay for it. This is not going to be Diddy's attitude whatsoever. So I feel that behind that alleged attempt suicide, I feel that possibly they could even maybe look to maybe put him in a straitjacket so as to not do that. Now, I know when it comes to that, from what I have read, I kind of did a little research pertaining to the straitjackets, and I know it's generally kind of used as an option when it comes to hospitals and mental wards. But again, when you think about straitjacket, it is for the purposes of from keeping the person from hurting themselves. And so if they feel that that is what they have to resort to, then that is what they will do. Okay? Overall, as I wind down, before we get to the twos, my tarot, he is not a survivor. He will struggle to adapt. And he will struggle to adapt. I think that is pretty much it in terms of how I and what I feel intuitively what it will look like after the aftermath of all of this, him being, behind prison bars. This is what I see and feel intuitively. Now, that of course remains to be seen. So I think that was all that I wanted to say. And so now, okay, this is the card that came out. I'll speak about the card that came out for him toward the end. So that is what I see and feel intuitively. We have yet to see what and how, of course, all of this plays out in the days and weeks and maybe months to come. But I strongly feel that he will not be able to adjust and adapt to that situation, to that environment, by no means. So let's get into my tools to tarot right quick as we wrap this down. I didn't want this to be long. So the cards that came out pertaining to, I asked the question, what is the current energy like surrounding Diddy, and what is he feeling? What is on his mind right now? Because we know there's a whole lot of things going on, jambling up in his mind. And so I was wanting to pull out two cards. One fell out. I got it. Usually when there's a jumper that falls on the floor upright, then I'm got it to take it. But then I wanted to go in and pull out, reshuffle the deck and pull out another card. The first card that came out, this was the one that fell on the floor, was that of courage. So it says here, I find the inner strength to face fear with confidence. So what does that mean? It's very straightforward. It's that he's trying to be strong. He's trying very much to be strong. He's trying to think positive. He's trying to keep it together, but it's not going to work. No matter how much he tries to be positive and trying to be strong during this time, what he fears is like he has a sixth sense of what is going to or what is about to happen in the aftermath of it all. He has a sixth sense because Scorpios and water signs, they are very intuitive themselves. So he knows there's a sixth sense in him. He knows. But he's trying to, it's almost like mind over matter. He's trying to kind of redirect his energy from thinking the worst. But it's like, I'm hoping for the best, but I am at the same time preparing for the worst, if that makes sense. So he's trying to be strong. The next card out that came out was that of honesty. It says here, I can't always expect the truth from others, but I can expect it from myself. So I got two messages here behind honesty. One part is I feel that when it comes to those involved, that is those that he had a close relationship with, those that he opened up to, when it came to his most inner secrets, right? Because Scorpio, there is secrets. They are secretive. There are aspects of them that can be secretive. But in order for them to open up and to confide in people that they feel they can trust, because they're not easy trusters, then I feel this is where now you can say this is becoming a huge concern for him, because he knows that now it's going to be the time that people he knows that he shared his most innermost secrets, whatever that may be, okay? It could be different things. I'm not going to get into it, but whatever he shared, I feel this is where he knows that people are going to come out of the woodworks from the past, going back to the 90s, the early 2000s. He knows that there's going to be some that will come out and speak their piece, bring in their interpretation, or bring in their news, their story, their relationship with him. This is what he fears. Because remember, going back to courage, I have the strength to face the fear with courage. This is what he fears, that people that know about what he has done, he shared intimate or shared things, they're going to come out. So he knows that this is the time that they're going to do so. Why? Because I also feel that before, they were either paid to remain hush-hush, or they was just, even if they weren't paid to remain silent, I feel that they were just nervous. So kudos to, again, Cassie, for having taken that leap of faith as she did to bring all of this out. So it was her. So we definitely got to give her props for taking that leap of faith and just kind of just laying it out. And so you can say that she was one of those things from 2023, one of those people, that force, that energy, that kind of prepared for what's to come pertaining to him for this year. But there were others that did not or was willing to, despite that she came out. There was some that still was afraid. And so now as they see his downfall, you can say that they feel it's safe too. Now, speaking of that, as I look over at the next card that came out was that of the Fool. This is an energy of taking a leap of faith, right? Taking a huge risk. And this is the people that he fears that is going to come out and talk and be honest and let the authorities know, the feds know what is going on. So they are going to add more fuel to the fire that has already been lit behind this. So the Fool represents the people. It's the people, all right, that is about to come forth, that has already, but more so than ever, because they feel it's safe to. Because it's like, he is not no more. They don't look at him no more as a person of power anymore. It's almost like, what can he do now? Everything has fallen. There's no revival. So it's like, it's safe now for people to come out of the woodworks and speak their piece. Now, clarifying that of the Fool, I got two cards here. We got the King of Cups. This is his energy because Cups is connected to water and he's a Scorpio. And we have the Page of Swords. Page of Swords, card of surveillance, watching. He is watching to see who is going to come out and say something or add to these allegations or speak upon their own experience with him. But as he watches, they are also, you can say, have been watching him in terms of everything that is being exposed. So the more that comes out, it is giving them the strength to come forth and tell their story as well. But he is definitely, this is his energy, the King of Cups. This is him watching and seeing who, because swords also is swords is communication, right? When you see the Ace of Swords, which is at the top of this deck as we go along, the Ace of Swords is the card of communication. It speaks the truth and nothing but the truth. So that's why he is afraid. That's why he's trying so hard. It's nothing he can do. He can't block the communication. He can't block. There's nothing he can do to block people from speaking. Nothing he can do. So he definitely is powerless at this time. He don't have the pull. And people have turned against him. So who he thought he trusted, they are going to turn on him. Now, the next card that came out was the Two of Cups. This is, again, the people that he thought he could trust. Two of Cups is relationships that you form, that you are closely in contact with, closely having a soul-tied connection with. Friends in particular, lovers. So this is friends and lovers alike, even when it comes to business partnerships. And we have heard recently that he has severed, or let's just say on the business front, that those companies and those businesses have severed ties with Diddy at this time. But when it comes to him and his relationships as well with friends, with those that he considered family, it's no longer there. They are all going to come forth. Everybody is going to kind of like take a piece of him, so to speak. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, finally, we've been waiting for this day to come, and now we're going to just get right in. We're not going to hold back anymore. That's over with because it's safe for them to do so. So to clarify that Two of Cups, we have the Two of Swords and the King of Pentacles. Now, the King of Pentacles, I feel this is his energy, right, currently, because this is a person that is very wealthy, which he is, but for how long, that is about to change. He's no longer going to be wealthy. But the Two of Swords, again, is people that have severed ties, cut off communication from him, right? Going back to that Two of Cups, People that he was close to, they are disassociating. They are disconnecting themselves from him. So this is him right here. Somebody in power, of wealth. That's what the King of Pentacles represents. Somebody of wealth. And the king is one of the richest kings of the tarot deck than the other kings, right? So again, his associations and ties with friends and associates, it's no longer anymore. No longer. It's almost like, you know, what is that expression? The roots is coming. What is that expression? The chickens are coming home to roost. Something like that. You know what I'm talking about, right? Shifting over, the next major card that have come out is another major. Is the death and rebirth. So again, right here, at this time, it's not speaking about per se a physical death. Right now, this is the card that brings things to light. The darkness. You see the light there? So everything that he has done in the past, it's coming to light. It started a few months ago in 2023, but it started, and Cassie was the one that brought out the light. She illuminated all that he concealed. It's coming to illumination, and she was the one that triggered that illumination. Clarifying that, we have the Knight of Pentacles and the Six of Cups. Six of Cups, his energy, because it's water, or cups is connected to the water signs. Six of Cups is also things from the past. Knight of Cups is one of the most slowest moving energies of the deck. So you can say that it's been a long time coming. But connecting it with the Six of Cups, that means that everything that he has done from the past is coming to light. Everything that he thought he could get away with and conceal, even though it's been years, because from what I have read and heard, this goes back to the 90s. Maybe the early 90s, well, maybe like the mid to late 90s. This goes back to that. Those allegations, those SA allegations, and whatever else that he has done, and I'm not going to get into it, but everybody pretty much knows all that he has done, that he thought he was able to keep a secret after all these years. And that's the thing. When people do their dirty deeds, especially when they have started to do this in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 90s, again, right quick, who pops in my head is Bill Cosby. His thing was done, his deeds was done back in the, I think maybe even the late 60s, but 70s at least. And maybe, again, he thought that it wasn't going to come out. But see what happened. You see how he ended up. This is an example. That was an example of what and how it's going to look like for Diddy. Again, having that untouchable attitude, thinking that when the more time went by, he's good. He got comfortable with himself as well. He got comfortable because the more time went by, he got himself into a safe zone that he thought nobody is not going to come out and speak upon what I'm doing. He knows what he did, you know, and whoever else he might have shared it with. And this is what is bringing fear to him at this time. So, again, that saying, it's so true. What you do in the dark will come out to light. It may not come out immediately, and sometimes it may not. It may take weeks. It may take months. It may take years. But it's going to come out, right? Karma is real. Now, shifting to the last card that came out was that of the Star card, okay? This is his energy, right? So him being of that status, being the star that he was, because right now he's not a star. You can say in a sense he's a falling star, right? He's a falling star. And clarifying that energy, we have two majors that came out to clarify. Actually, this is a major, by the way. The star is a major, and then it's clarified by two majors, that of the Judgment, and we know Judgment is connected to karma, and that of the High Priestess. Now, this is his energy. The High Priestess is water sign energy, and it's about, as I mentioned earlier, he himself is intuitive. He has a sixth sense. He knows that this is his time. The trumpet call, the trumpet horn has reigned. It has blown, right? Because the judgment is the time has come. The time has come for all his dirty deeds, all the dark aspects of his behavior and actions and what he has done. It has come to an end. He has to give an account for all that he has done. And it's nothing he can do. He cannot and will not recover from this. And he knows it. He knows it. He knows it. He can't recover. Judgment is here. And when this card comes up, the judgment that is connected to karma and so forth, it's a final decision. And the final decision, when it comes to, in the next few days, when it comes, it will be decided and it will be shown that he is guilty of all counts, allegedly, so to speak. But he knows his time is close. He's losing connections. He's losing friendships. He's losing business. He is losing. He is that falling star. That star that once stood up and was of star power. It's no longer existing. It is not going to exist anymore. All because of his actions. And going back to the very thing of what I said, it's a disappointment. Because he could have utilized his fame and his power, right, to be an inspiration. Like, aside from that dark aspect of him, he could have been, you could look at him and say he could have been someone that the youth, the young boys could look at, other than what he turned out to be. It could have been where, on the positive, he could have really have been an inspiration for motivating the youth, right, and people. Right? Because like I said, we have good and we have bad. It's just that some, they put their energy more into the negative aspects of themselves. And it's unfortunate. Because now you got the kids as well. You got the kids involved, his daughters, and that would be another day, maybe a little bit later, in terms of what's going to happen now, with his children and who's going to take them and, what have you. I might maybe do that at a later time. But right now, that's what I got. As we close out, I wanted to pull a card from the Kipper's deck. Because the Kipper's deck, to me, is a very forthright, direct, very blunt energy deck to see in terms of what is going to be the outcome as we close this out. And the card that came out from the Kipper's deck is toil and labor. So we know what that means. Prison. Right? So this shows that he will, no doubt, face prison. Toil and labor is work that is not work you want to do. And so I asked a question. I wanted to kind of dig in to really, really see, because I wasn't sure. My question is then, do prison inmates have to work? Yes. As stated with modern prison labor systems, most prisoners in the U.S. are required to work. All state prison systems and federal system have some form of penal labor. And they are usually paid a little less, under $1 per hour. So let's swallow this up a little bit. A man like Diddy, who was coming from wealth, right? Coming from wealth, and now to come down from being a triple millionaire, because I think he was, 700 million worth, his net worth, somewhere along there. So coming from a triple millionaire, coming down to just $1 or 50 cents, basically, and to do mediocre work, whatever that may entail. So whatever the work, it may be scrubbing floors, taking a toothbrush and scrubbing. It may be whatever it is that they will have him doing. Believe me, that is not going to, that right there in itself, he may have a heart attack. Because again, it's about his image and about, like I said, his persona at this point. He's gonna, if anything, you know, I've heard from other outlets or other, you know, readers that somebody might try to delete him. Not if he don't try to delete himself, because this is going to be too much for him. And you know something? You can't feel sorry for him. You know, I only feel sorry for the part that when you do look and try to see the good in somebody, right, of what they could have become versus what they did become. That's the part that sucks, basically. You know, he has to face the music. And I just don't see that he will be able to face the music. I just don't see it. He will not be able to adjust, adapt to that type of environment. He will be left alone. And he brought it upon himself. So that's what I got. But as I look at, I'm being drawn to this Ace of Swords. Remember when I said that people are going to come from the woodworks and talk? The Ace of Swords is here. The truth is going to come out. The truth is coming out for sure. People that have been involved, victims, they are looking to finally put this to rest. They've been healing from this, but just haven't been able to speak upon it, because the Four of Swords is a card of healing, but it's been some time. For some, it's been 4 years, and now they can freely speak. There go that star again. They can speak pertaining to Diddy, the Fool, taking that risk, taking that chance to speak their piece. All right, that's what I see. And behind the deck, justice. Usually when the judgment come out, justice is not too far behind. And sometimes when the justice comes out, judgment is not too far behind. So everybody is going to get justice. Okay? Justice is here. Judgment is here. It has arrived. Eight of Wands, communication, moving forward. And there's going to be more. So this could be more people that is going to come out to speak upon what is going on, right? So, and as I look at the top of the deck, that toil and labor came out, we have courthouse. So definitely, there's going to definitely be a trial, no doubt. However these things go, it's definitely going to be something there. And his fortune, it's going to be frozen. But it's going to not be there for him. It's not going to be there for him. And as I look at the back of the deck, coffin. Coffin. And since I already spoke about him not adjusting to that environment, this allegedly could be how things will end for him, by his own hands. Anyway, this is what I see as of today's energy, based upon what I feel is surrounding him energetically rise, and what potentially could be the future as of today, March 28th, 2024. As always, as a disclaimer, to know that none of these of what I have interpreted for today behind the contents of P. Diddy's reading is not 100% factual. I'm going by my intuition and by the tools of my tarot. And until otherwise, until we see how things line up and how they play out, then and only then I will be able to come back and attest to whatever I feel I interpreted to be the case at a later time. All right. So with that being said, by all means, if you wanted to drop in your thoughts and comments into the comment section, by all means, please be respectful. But I would like to see what you guys think about what I have picked up and what the cards have shown us pertaining to what is going on with Diddy. All right. All right, everyone. Until the next one, wishing you a wonderful Thursday. Peace, love, and light. Namaste. Bye.